Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be talking about my reading thus far in BookTrek 2024, a summer-long reading event hosted by Vin at Revenant Reads and ably assisted by an entire crew that I will list in the notes below. I was a small child when the original Star Trek series began on TV in the mid 1960s. I saw all of the episodes before they were reruns when they first came out. And I also saw all of the original Star Trek movies as well. So my reading for this event is most likely going to be revolving around books from the original series. I don't really know anything about the subsequent series, and I don't think I'm going to delve into that for this reading event. This week, I read a couple of novels from the very early part of the series. The first one that I read was The Entropy Effect, and this was written by Vonda and McIntyre. This novel was published by Pocket Books in 1981, and this is book number 2 in the series. And it's the first original story in this long-running series. Apparently, Vonda McIntyre wrote what she hoped would become a screenplay when she was 18 years old. And this novel came from that screenplay. This novel contains, apparently, the first ever references to first names for the characters of Sulu and Uhura, and they eventually would become part of canon. In this novel, the Enterprise is studying a naked singularity when it is diverted off course to the colony Aleph Prime in order to pick up a very dangerous criminal, theoretical physicist Dr. Georges Mordreau. Mordreau has been convicted of murder and unethical research on living beings. Mordreau, by the way, was also one of Spock's teachers years earlier. Prosecutor Braithwaite also accompanies them on this journey. In a strange series of events, Mordreau appears on the bridge, injures Braithwaite, and shoots Kirk and Security Chief Flynn. Security, however, insists that Mordreau was in his cell the whole time. So Spock eventually figures out that Mordreau's crime was actually developing and using a time travel device. Dr. McCoy, in the meantime, removes Kirk from life support and he dies. Spock discovers that the older Mordreau, who murdered Kirk, was from a different time in which the insane Mordreau was looking for revenge against anybody that he held responsible or believed to be responsible for his current troubles. Spock concludes that it is only through time travel that he can possibly avert disaster and save Kirk's life. That's all I'm going to say about the plot. Vonda Neale McIntyre was a biologist and a science fiction writer, and one of the first successful graduates of the Clarion Science Fiction Writers Workshop, an intensive summer writing workshop in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. In 1973, she won a Nebula Award for Of Mist and Grass and Sand, which was later incorporated into her novel Dream Snake, which won both the Hugo and the Nebula Awards for Best Novel in 1978. Her novel, The Moon and the Sun, also won a Nebula in 1997. She wrote a number of the early Star Trek novels and also Star Wars novels. And she also wrote novelizations for several of the Star Trek films, including Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, and Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. I thought The Entropy Effect was a terrific early Star Trek novel. The novel had an exciting and complex plot with great action scenes and a high level of suspense. McIntyre absolutely excels in her creation and development of characters and the relationships among characters. Her depiction of Spock, part Vulcan, part human, the brave and loyal friend who travels back in time in an effort to save Kirk's life, is both poignant and inspiring. Next, I moved on to Vonda McIntyre's novelization of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. While I don't think I have a lot of experience with reading novelizations, I can say that reading Vonda McIntyre's work has encouraged me. She also did the novelization for the third and fourth movies, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be reading those as well. In this novelization for the Wrath of Khan, the Federation starship Reliant is on a surveying mission to find a lifeless planet for the Genesis project when they accidentally discover the camp of Khan Noonien Singh, known as Khan, who is plotting revenge against James T. Kirk, whom he blames for all sorts of things, including for his exile and for the death of his wife. Khan captures the ship Reliant and the space station where the Genesis project is being developed in an effort to lure Kirk and the Enterprise to the space station to exact his revenge. McIntyre wrote this novelization in 1982. While the story was given to her in the form of the film script, McIntyre clearly makes this her own through her own great skills as a science fiction writer. She's doing a lot more here than simply documenting a story that has already been written and already been told on film. One way she does this is through references to her own earlier novel, The Entropy Effect. Specifically, she writes again about the character of the security chief Flynn, a character that she created and introduced in her earlier novel. In the film, Sulu's promotion was cut out, but McIntyre includes it in her novel and even has Sulu expressing gratitude to now Admiral Kirk. Perhaps the most important development that McIntyre brings to this novelization is the full development of character Lieutenant Savick, part Vulcan, part Romulan. While she is a character in the film, she doesn't have nearly the presence that she has in the novelization, where she, excuse me, she is clearly one of the main characters. And we also learn her very complicated backstories. Some critics have suggested that she was developed to this degree because at this time Leonard Nimoy was saying that this would be his last Star Trek appearance. So perhaps this character was being developed as a possible replacement for the Spock character in the future. But of course, this wasn't Leonard Nimoy's final role at all. I think Vonda McIntyre was a terrific writer, and I really enjoyed these two novels. I am looking forward to reading her later novelizations, and I want to read her other novels as well that she wrote outside of the Star Trek and Star Wars body of work. I'd like to read some of her own titles as well. So these have been 2 hits for me in BookTrek 2024, and I am having so much fun. So more to come in the rest of the summer. As always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.